This is not a regular Spark build. Yes, it still excels at melting bosses, clearing maps of any difficulty, and handling all kinds of content with ease. But there's a catch. I haven't yet unlocked this build's full potential, and believe me, there's so much untapped power here that it could easily be twice as strong. Now let me address the question that's probably on your mind. Why Gemling Legionnaire? At first glance, my passive skill tree might make you think it's crazy to turn this character into a mage. But give me just a couple of minutes and I'll show you why it makes perfect sense. This is a non-crit, full mana build designed for maximum DPS and crowd control, and Gemling Legionnaire is perfect for this. The first passive skill we'll look at is adaptive capability. Attribute requirements of gems can be satisfied by your highest attribute. At first, I thought it only applied to the attribute requirements for support gems connected to a skill, but I was wrong. This passive skill does so much more. It works for all support, skill, and spirit gems, opening an entire world of possibilities. For example, if your spirit stat is higher than mine, you could use a native warrior skill like Overwhelming Presence. This skill drastically lowers the elemental alignment threshold of nearby monsters, giving you even better control over bosses and large groups of enemies. The next core passive skill that defines this build is Enhanced Effectiveness. Bonuses from Intelligence, Strength, and Dexterity are doubled. For our character, mana is everything. It directly determines both our damage output and survivability. Now imagine this. With 500 intelligence, your mana normally increases by 1000 points. But with Enhanced Effectiveness, that value is doubled to 2000 mana. This skill alone boosts our damage by a solid 30%. But that's not all. We have several more key skills that will provide us with significant advantages over any other class. Crystalline Potential is another cornerstone of this build, enhancing the quality of our skills. As we all know, skill quality is absolutely critical for any Spark build. This passive not only boosts the skill quality beyond the standard 20% cap, but also allows us to fire up to 25 projectiles. On top of that, it grants an additional 1% damage for every 100 mana, which might not seem like much at first. However, with over 6000 mana, this translates into a massive 60% boost to our total damage output. But that's not all that Gemling Legionnaire can offer us. There's the cherry on top. Implanted Gems, which provides a free +1 to all skills. This passive elevates our build to an entirely different level, granting us an edge that other classes simply can't match. Before diving into the passive skill tree and gear, let's start with the heart of the build, skill gems. Our main skill gem is Spark, obviously. As for the rest of the gems, things are not so obvious. We are not chasing projectile speed, duration, or piercing effects. No, we are not wasting our precious slots on these things. Instead, every support gem is carefully chosen to maximize damage and efficiency. The first of which will be Arcane Tempo, to increase our casting speed by 25%. Next, we use Considered Casting for 40% more damage. Controlled Destruction. This is one of the most crucial gems in our setup. It grants an additional 30% more damage, but prevents critical hits. While this might seem like a drawback, you'll understand its importance once we discuss the passive tree. Inspiration. This is indispensable because casting costs become unmanageable without it, especially when using Archmage. The next support gem, Lightning Mastery, is extremely interesting. After all, no other classes can afford to use it in this skill. And now I'll tell you why. It's all about Archmage. It's our main damage amplifier. Without it, our damage would plummet. In order to reach the maximum values of Archmage, we need to raise it to level 21. Any other class will be forced to use Lightning Mastery in Archmage to reach the maximum value. We, due to the unique passive from our Ascendancy, get this +1 to all skills absolutely free. It is this fact that allows Gemling Legionnaire to stand out so much among the other classes. The next skill in our arsenal is Orb of Storms, an incredibly powerful tool for boosting our damage, especially during boss fights. Not only does it increase the number of projectiles we unleash, but it also applies lightning exposure when paired up with appropriate support gem. All other support gems are chosen to enhance its effect and improve the chances of applying this debuff. Flame Wall is another skill we include, but to be honest, it rarely sees use. The sheer damage from our primary attacks makes casting Flame Wall feel unnecessary. It's more of a backup option than a core part of the build. Next, we have Conductivity, a curse that reduces the lightning resistance of our enemies by an additional 40%. While this sounds essential, the truth is I barely use it. Even the toughest bosses fall without needing this extra debuff, thanks to the overwhelming damage of our main skills. Finally, let's talk about Sigil of Power, a skill that truly earns its place in the build. This is a buff skill we cast on swap, typically before engaging in boss fights. Sigil of Power dramatically amplifies our DPS, pushing it to jaw-dropping levels. For support gems, we use Persistence and Magnified Effect, which extend its duration and expand its area of effect, ensuring it remains active for as long as possible during those critical moments. Before diving into the passive skill tree, it is essential to first understand the reasoning behind our gear choices. Let's break down the key things we're interested in: +2 skills, mana, intelligence, cast speed, resistances. Additionally, the energy shield on gear is incredibly valuable for this build, since it gets converted into mana. More mana, more survivability, more damage. Let's start with the cornerstone of our armor, the gloves. These are a game changer and a vital layer of protection in this build. Their standout feature is enabling electrocution buildup, a mechanic that interrupts the target's actions and lasts for 5 seconds, effectively immobilizing any enemy struck by a lightning. And the best part, these gloves are equipable from level 26 and cost only about 1 exalted orb. Once you have them, they completely transform how the game feels, providing a sense of control and safety that is hard to match. The rest of the gear in this build is flexible and non-mandatory, giving you room to adapt based on your preferences and available resources. Try to get a wand with at least +4 to skills and a high spell and lightning damage. Cast speed, mana, intelligence, the more the better. The same applies to our focus, helmet, boots, belt, and jewelry. Recommended chess piece is Warrior Invictus. There are 2 noteworthy variants: maximum mana plus resistances, a balanced option that provides both survivability and utility, and maximum mana plus increase attributes. This version significantly boosts your damage by increasing key stats like intelligence, but it comes with a trade-off: lower resistances, which can make balancing your defenses more challenging. Don't forget to subscribe, and now let's move on to the most exciting part, the passive skill tree. You can find a link to max roll in the description. Starting as a Gemling Legionnaire actually gives us a significant advantage over sorcerers. The fact that we need to go through the entire tree to get to the key skills actually comes with 3 major advantages. First, while navigating the tree, we naturally accumulate a substantial number of attributes. This is not only enhances our stats, but also amplifies the effects of nodes like Enhanced Effectiveness, which doubles the bonuses from our attributes. Second, we have as many as 10 slots for jewelry at our disposal, an unparalleled feature almost on the edge of what other classes can achieve. Third, and most importantly, Gemling Legionnaire gains access to the most powerful nodes that sorceresses never even dreamed of. For example, let's take the Lightning Rod skill. This passive allows all non-critical hits to be considered lucky. This is the game-changing mechanic. In practice, this means that for each hit, the damage will be calculated twice and the higher value will be applied. Now, if you take a closer look at the lightning damage of our main skill, you'll notice that the range is massive. We can hit anywhere between 5 and 100k, but thanks to the lucky mechanic, we're almost always hitting on the higher end of that range. And let's not forget about the Controlled Destruction support gem, which gives us an additional 30% more damage. Starting to see the big picture now? The next key skill we take along the way is Electrocution, which allows us to deal 20% more damage to all the enemies. Remember our unique gloves, right? Next, we go higher up the branch and take Windstorm, which gives us 15% more lightning damage. Now we have finally come to the Sorcerer's skill zone. Here, we're interested in several key skills. Arcane Intensity with 3% increased damage for every 100 mana, and Pure Power with 2% increased damage for every 10 intelligence. We also focus on 3 major nodes that allows us to use mana as life. The first is Mind Over Matter, which lets us take damage with mana before our health. The second, Eldritch Battery, converts our entire energy shield into mana, boosting both our damage and survivability. Finally, Chaos Inoculation grants full immunity to chaos damage, allowing us to focus solely on elemental resistances without worrying about dangerous chaos effects. Then, we have Complete Freedom of Action. We try to increase our damage using Lightning Quick, increase lightning penetration with Electric Amplification, increase maximum mana with Raw Mana and Ingenuity. We also make sure to prioritize mana regeneration with Arcane Blossom and Mental Alacrity. For jewels, we focus on mana regeneration and critical 2% mana return on kill. Additional modifiers we'll look for include lightning damage, elemental damage, spell damage, cast speed, and similar stats to optimize our build. I hope you enjoyed this video. So make sure to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button and leave a comment letting me know what you think about this build. Also, if you're a fan of Diablo 2, I've got plenty of high quality videos already on my channel, so be sure to check them out.